I'm talking about the infuriating, dismissive, and utterly illogical statement that I, or any atheist for that matter, only stopped believing in God because I was hurt. Oh, the sheer breathtaking arrogance of it. If I had $1 every time a well-meaning, or more often poorly meaning, Christian has told me that my atheism is merely a bandage for my emotional wounds, I could probably buy the Vatican, pave it over, and turn it into a dedicated research center for verifiable facts. They trot this line out like it's a brilliant, checkmate-level philosophical insight. They look at you with that patented, soft-focused pity face and murmur, "You're just angry at God because you've been hurt." And every time a little piece of my soul does a dramatic facepalm, slow-motion fall, because this statement, this cornerstone of Christian projection, is the ultimate exercise in cosmic gaslighting. They are trying to turn a rigorous, skeptical, evidence-based conclusion into a therapy session that they get to lead. This is Kim McPhail of the Kim McPhail Podcast, and today we are going to shred this argument into confetti, use it to line a cage for a hypothetical pigeon, and then launch the whole thing into the sun. Because, friends, there is a fundamental galaxy-sized difference between being hurt by something that exists and using that injury as justification for disbelieving something that doesn't. Let's dive into why this particular brand of condescending Christian commentary is pure, unfiltered nonsense. So before we talk about the big invisible guy in the sky, let's talk about things we know with absolute certainty exist. And specifically, things that hurt me that I know existed. My personal life, like many of yours, has had its share of sharp edges. I've been hurt by family members, deeply, structurally, and repeatedly. I've gone no contact with all of them. Now here is the critical point that Christians seem pathologically incapable of grasping. The hurt I experienced had zero impact on my belief in their physical existence. Let's take my mother, for example. Did I ever look up after a particularly painful argument and think, well, that's it. She simply does not exist. This woman is a hallucination caused by bad coffee? Which, actually, I hate coffee, but giving you an example there. So, no, that would just be insane. Why? Because I have proof. I have photographic evidence. I have shared conversations. More importantly, I have my own DNA, which links me directly to her existence on this earth. If I needed more proof, which I don't because I lived with her for years, there's a headstone with her name and dates on it. There are documents she signed, a social security number, and her death certificate. My family members exist. The pain they caused is real, and the reality of the pain is intrinsically tied to the reality of the person who inflicted it. They are verifiable entities in the physical universe. When I talk about my father, a man who, let's just say, perfected the art of high-level misogyny, I know he exists. I know he existed. I have lived with him. I have proof that he also once existed and has died. Just because the memory of his behavior causes a visceral reaction doesn't mean I can deny his existence. To deny his existence would fly in the face of all verifiable logical and scientific evidence available to me. So, conclusion one, when you have tangible proof of existence, being hurt by that thing or person changes your relationship with it, but not your acceptance of its objective reality. If I were to tell a Christian, I don't believe my mother existed because she hurt my feelings, they would call me irrational. They would correctly point out that my emotional state doesn't erase photographic data and DNA records. Yet, they turn right around and try to apply this broken logic to a deity whose existence lacks a birth certificate, a DNA link, a medical bill, or literally any form of mutually verifiable third-party empirical evidence. The double standard isn't just baffling, it's offensively stupid. The Christian assertion, "You're hurt, therefore you stopped believing in God," is not just about emotion. It's a brilliant piece of misdirection meant to avoid the actual necessary debate. The debate about evidence. Their claim is a classic ad hominem attack disguised as spiritual counseling. It doesn't address my arguments. It addresses my presumed psychology. So let's break down the actual logical reason I do not believe in the Christian God, or any God for that matter. Premise 1. Belief in X should be proportional to verifiable evidence for X. This is the scientific skeptical starting point. Premise 2, there is no logical, reasonable, or verifiable scientific evidence for the existence of the Christian God. The Bible is not evidence, it is a claim. Conclusion, therefore, I do not believe in the Christian God. My emotional history is literally irrelevant to this three-step process. My atheism is a product of investigation, research, and critical thinking, not trauma. When I started asking the big questions, I didn't stop believing because I suddenly remembered a terrible thing that happened. I stopped believing because when I actually examined the claims, the evidence evaporated faster than holy water on a lava flow. They want me to believe that my logical conclusion is merely a sophisticated defense mechanism. They are projecting their own fear. The fear that if they allow themselves to feel hurt by the church, which they often are, they might have to confront the fact that they too have zero evidence for their deity. So they pathologize our disbelief. They turn intellectual honesty into emotional failure. It's like saying, you don't believe in Donald Trump because he stole our democracy and ruined America. If you just forgave him, you'd realize he's still a trustworthy guy. No, I disbelieve in his integrity because of the verifiable evidence of his crimes. The emotion is secondary to the facts. Now let's be very clear about where the actual pain comes from. And this is pain that Christians are often complicit in, or at least willfully blind to. I have been hurt by Christianity. I have been hurt by Christians. Christianity exists. We can see the organizations, the buildings, the history, the cultural impact, and the paperwork. It is a verifiable existing phenomenon. Christians exist. We see them proselytizing in the comments section. gaslighting us, sending us poorly cited tracts, and generally existing in the world. These things, the false system and the people who uphold it, are demonstrably real, and they have caused real harm. Misogyny, bigotry, purity culture trauma, financial exploitation, these are real things enacted by real people operating under the banner of a real existing religious sect. So, when a Christian tells me I'm hurt, they are half right. I was hurt, but I was hurt by the thing that exists, the religion and its followers, not by the thing that has yet to demonstrate its existence, the God. Imagine getting hit by a runaway garbage truck. I am hurt. I know the garbage truck exists because it left tire tracks, witnesses, and a massive dent in my car and my kneecap. Now imagine someone telling me, you're only angry at the concept of speed limits because you were hurt by the flying spaghetti monster. It makes no sense. The cause of the injury, the verifiable truck equals Christianity, has nothing to do with whether I believe in the non-existent entity, such as God and the flying spaghetti monster. The fact that the religion is manipulative and often false causes massive pain. And guess what? Recognizing that the system is false and damaging is part of the deconstruction process. I see the Bible for what it is, a collection of ancient, often contradictory, and deeply misogynistic texts. The fact that the physical book exists doesn't make its claims true. The fact that the religion exists doesn't make its central deity real. This brings us to the crucial, humorous contradiction at the heart of their claim. You can only be hurt by someone or something that demonstrably exists. I cannot be physically or emotionally hurt by a non-existent God. Could I be metaphorically hurt by the idea of God? Sure, perhaps. But even that spiritual trauma is inflicted by the people who wield the idea, and not the idea itself. The threat of hell is terrifying. But it is the pastor who is shouting about it, not a silent, invisible entity manifesting the fear directly into my brain. So let's try some truly hilarious non-existent entities. If I were to claim I stopped believing in the tooth fairy because she once stiffed me 50 cents and caused me emotional distress, you would correctly point out that my trauma is real. But the tooth fairy remains non-existent. If I said I turned skeptical of Bigfoot because he ate my picnic lunch and mocked my tiny sandwiches, the proof of my empty basket and my wounded pride would still not, in any way, grant existence to Bigfoot. I have zero logical, verifiable, or scientific proof that the Christian God exists. Therefore, to claim that my entire process of evidence-based skepticism is derailed by emotional pain is to perform the ultimate intellectual cartwheel off a cliff of logic. But wait, Christians do get hurt by false beliefs. The true irony here is that Christians are often the ones who inflict pain on themselves and others by adhering to a false belief system. If you believe that speaking in tongues is necessary for salvation, but you can't manage it, you hurt yourself with guilt and anxiety. That suffering is real, but it is caused by the false belief, not a real entity imposing a requirement. When Christians preach against homosexuality based on ancient flawed translations, they hurt millions. The suffering is verifiable, but it is inflicted by the human adherence to the text, not by a divine command that has been empirically validated. So, yes, you can be hurt by a false belief system. In fact, following a system that contradicts reality requires you to constantly gaslight yourself and lie to others, which is fundamentally damaging. The Christian belief system is a verifiable source of pain because it exists as a structure in the world and it teaches destructive, unproven concepts. This means that Christian pain is often caused by a human manifestation of the false belief. My atheistic conclusion is caused by the absence of proof for the divine being. These are not the same thing. My dear audience knows exactly what's coming once this video drops. We're going to be swamped by the Cosmic Gaslight Brigade. Let's preemptively address their greatest hits. Number 1, the projections. You just want to sin. They say you just don't want to submit to God because you want to live a life of sin without consequences. And how we respond? Yes, the assumption that my fundamental life goal is to finally enjoy some sweet, consequence-free hedonism. My life as an atheist is largely defined by reading, research, and arguing with people who think books are proof. Where is the sin? Is critical thinking a sin? Because if so, I plead guilty. The fact is, our morality is based on verifiable human empathy and societal well-being, not the arbitrary rules of a Bronze Age text. But thank you for projecting your own fear of moral collapse onto us. Number 2, the gaslighting. If you just opened your heart, they say, you haven't truly met Jesus. You need to open your heart and let him in. And we would respond with this. I examined the evidence. I opened my brain. I performed the philosophical and scientific equivalent of a full forensic audit of the claims, and the safe was empty. Telling me to open my heart to an entity for which there is no verifiable data is like telling an accountant to file tax returns based purely on good vibes. The problem isn't my heart. The problem is your lack of proof. And number 3, the evidence failure. The Bible is the proof. They say the only proof you need is the Bible. It's the Word of God. And how we would respond? Oh, magnificent! The ancient logical loop. You prove the existence of God using the book, and you prove the authority of the book using the Word of God. It's the theological equivalent of a snake eating its own tail, except the snake choked centuries ago and nobody noticed. I acknowledge that the Bible exists. I can hold it in my hand. But I can also hold a copy of Lord of the Rings. The existence of the artifact does not validate the narrative contained within. Show me the testable, verifiable, falsifiable, logical evidence outside of your aggressively marketed fan fiction. On to number 4, the victim card. I'm praying for you. They say, I'm generally sorry you were hurt. I will pray that God can heal your brokenness and lead you back to Him. And how we would respond? Thank you for the performative sympathy. While I appreciate the thought, your pity assumes my current state is one of brokenness rather than intellectual liberation. And honestly, if you want to help, maybe spend less time whispering to an unproven entity and more time examining why the verifiably existing institution of Christianity causes so much measurable harm to real people. Prayer is the last refuge of someone who cannot prove evidence. It's the spiritual equivalent of sending thoughts and prayers after a mass shooting. It's comforting, but fundamentally useless. So, let's wrap this up for the confused Christians and the empowered skeptics alike. When a Christian tells me I only left because I was hurt, they are attempting to conflate two fundamentally separate concepts. And the fact? I was hurt by real people and a real institution. Result: I now know these people institutions exist, and I navigate my relationship to them accordingly, often by going no contact with the harmful ideology. Fact: there is zero logical, verifiable proof of a deity. And the result? I do not believe in that deity. The hurt, while real, is a side effect of interacting with a flawed human system. The disbelief is a product of rational inquiry. My pain is a matter of circumstance. My atheism is a matter of epistemology. The facts of the matter are immutable. There is no proof of the Christian God's existence. He is indistinguishable from all other man-made deities throughout history, such as Zeus, Ra, or the aforementioned flying spaghetti monster. My emotional history does not make the non-existence of God any less true. And that is the glorious, logical hill we stand on. We weren't driven away by pain. We were led out by the light of evidence. So, if you are watching this, and you are one of the brave souls currently deconstructing, questioning, or standing firm in your atheism, let me know in the comments below. What is the most ridiculous, condescending explanation a Christian has given you for your lack of belief? And more importantly, what piece of verifiable, critical evidence finally convinced you that the claims were false? Was it history? Science? Logic? Let's fill this comment section with rational thought and friendly mockery and show the proselytizers that we are not broken victims. We are critical thinkers who demand evidence. Hit that like button, subscribe for more existential truth bombs, and share this with anyone you know who has been called damaged goods by the Cosmic Gaslight Brigade. Until next time, stay sharp. Stay skeptical, and remember, if you can't prove it, it's not real, no matter how much your feelings are involved.